Well, guys, once again, we are starting off down in the deep, dark dungeon that we call the pantry. Just kidding. It actually isn't that bad. You guys know this year has been a slow year for me for canning. These shelves really haven't gotten that loaded look that I really go for before the pantry challenge starts. But have no fear, because you know what's about to start? And I mean today is the freezer challenge. We just went to the butcher. We picked up 2 sheep and we've got 2 more coming next week. And to top it all off, fridge went earlier this year. Our 4th freezer went to plug it in to put these in. Nothing. Dead. So we made the decision. It is time. Stuff's got to come out of that freezer so that we can get this meat into the freezer. Still means the freezers are going to be super full, but it means a lot of stuff is going into jars. Right now, our meat is all sitting in these 2 coolers and they're pretty much full. So that is a lot of square footage space that we need to find in these freezers. But have no fear, I know there is some projects that I have put off and I've just kept putting things in. The problem is going to be finding the stuff that I put in here. Now, in no way is this going to be an organizing video. We are so not there. This is purely, let's get the stuff out, make a plan for what we're going to use it for, and get the new stuff in. I'm not even going to rotate really. We've put dates on everything, so we should be good to go. So let's take a look inside these freezers a little deeper, and I'll go through what our target produce is in here. So Chris is very excited about this. We got new lights. Did you guys notice? It's super bright, and I don't even have one of those big spotlights on. Wonderful. Such a difference in the pantry and food area. So thank you, Chris, for doing those things and getting them up. But he definitely wanted me to make sure that you guys knew we'd put in new lights. But what we're really doing here is I'm going to show you these 2 big chest freezers down here. These are the main ones we're tackling. The one upstairs is very full as well, but I don't think, don't quote me on that there's anything in there we need. So let's take a look. So there is the first one. As you can see, very full of a lot of random stuff. And there's the second one. Also very full of a lot of random stuff. Here is where we're tackling first. This is our big main chest freezer that I come and go a lot. Usually the other one has a whole bunch of stuff piled on it and we only move it when we need it. And what we're after in here is lamb meat and tomatoes. I think that will make a big dent. I have 24 pounds of tomatoes in here for sure that were allocated for butter chicken. So that is one of the easiest things to get out here. The other thing we're going to make is a huge batch of our taco meat in cans. We love that. It is something we use all the time, and it is all gone. It has been gone actually for probably 2 months now, and I keep saying I'm going to make it, and I don't. So we're going to dig out 8 pounds of ground meat, and the last thing we're going to tackle, at least in this first video for the freezer challenge, is canning some lamb meat. So stay tuned through this video as we kind of tackle all these projects and get it out of the freezer. Now I gotta dig. Found the ground. So now we need 8 pounds out of this bag. So definitely something we're gonna have to tackle in the next round is more broth. I am storing so much bones that I don't need to be storing. I have lamb bones and chicken bones that we've collected as we've been going through eating stuff, and they're just taking up valuable real estate in here. So hopefully we can get this meat in with these now. If not, by the end of the video, I'm also going to be making broth. Story of my life, guys. So we're at the bottom of the freezer where I thought something should be. It's not there. So now we have to move everything from one side to the other, and hopefully they're in the other crate. But a little bit of a takeoff, I will admit. So let's keep going. I might as well have organized it the rate we're going here, but that is not the goal right now. All right, so what I was looking for is not where I've now uncovered. So we're gonna now put the lamb meat down in the hole that I've created, and we're gonna see if we can get everything back in here. But my leg roast must be in the other freezer, which doesn't make sense, but hey, this is how I roll. I'm going to say it, we definitely don't have any shortage of peppers this year. Right on here, you're seeing 9 bags, and I know we have more. So we did super this year on peppers. So we opened up the other freezer after finally squeezing everything into this one and found more peppers. So we're trying to get them into the first freezer because it makes sense for them all to be together. I just said to Chris, and I'm going to say it again, if I get to the bottom of this and there's no leg roast, I'm going to be so ticked off. But we're going to do the same thing we did with the other one. We managed to get the freezer lid closed. Hooray! And we're going to see if we can find some leg roast at the bottom of this. And if not, I would almost say we have a problem. So in this freezer challenge, you got to be ready to just roll with things. And I'm making an executive decision. Well, actually, Chris made the executive decision. I'm not going to take credit for this. Rather than wasting time digging and trying to find these roasts, I found more chicken bones. I think we're just going to go with chicken broth first. It also is something that's super quick and easy, just like the lamb meat. And that allows me more time to keep going with my crafting stuff for craft sale season. So that's what we're tackling. Taco meat, chicken broth, and butter chicken sauce. So all in all, I think it's going to be a really busy week of canning. Probably a really busy month, to be honest, because we still have more stuff to go in here. But for tonight and today's goal, I think we achieved it. So you saw us take all those chicken bones out of the freezer. They've now defrosted, and we're going to start with our chicken broth. Another thing that we also took out was some lamb chops for dinner tonight. So we're going to get those marinated as well. But our big thing is our chicken broth, because I like to let it, it's not marinate, but cook and simmer for a good 8 hours before we can anything up. So hopefully we've got enough time. As you know, we are doing a double whammy pot of this. We're going for 2 huge batches of chicken broth because I got so many bones out of that freezer. Now, we still have a lot more to get out of that freezer, but you know what we're tackling this week. I got to get a move on because guess what? It's already Wednesday. We're not doing so well. So chicken broth around here is pretty much the same as it is everywhere else. I put celery, carrots, onions in with my bones, fill her up with water right to the top of these 12-liter pots, and we're going to keep adding because there's a lot of bones in here and a lot of goodness, and I want to get a lot of chicken broth. But the other thing we do is a little bit of salt and pepper, some fresh rosemary, maybe a little bit of parsley, and garlic. And as you know, we are finally on to this year's garlic. These were all the misfits that didn't make the cut for storage, and we're going to start with a few cloves of them in each one as well. So I'm excited to get using 2025's garlic instead of old garlic and going, boy, I still have so much garlic to use. So this is exciting. I know, little things that amuse me, right? And look at this celery, guys. Picked right from the garden like 10 minutes ago. There's still so much of it out here. It's looking good, starting to die back now, but hey, winter is coming. I mean, we're November 4th, I think. And still going strong. Hopefully we can keep harvesting some, and I'm going to put some in the freezer if I can make space in the freezer. But take a look at how the rest of the garden is doing. There's still quite a bit out here, and I'm super, super, super pleased with our little fall garden that we planted under the tarp here. And if you just take a look at these cute little bok choys. Only got 2 of them. That's okay though. We're going to chop these off, and I'm going to make a chow mein on the weekend. It'll be amazing. I just know it. But very, very lucky and blessed to have so much still coming from the farm. Back to cooking though. Now we're going to get this chopped up into, not all of it obviously, this is more than I need, but we're going to get that celery, carrots, and onions in here, get that simmering for a bit, and then get our spices. Well guys, I'm back from lunch. It is time to plunge ahead with this taco meat, but that unfortunately meant I need to make space on the oven because I was using those 2 big pots to make my chicken broth. So I've set up my convection little hot plate, and I've moved one of those over to that so that we've got a free spot. And then I realized my 2 big pots were making chicken broth, and I need a big pot to make my taco meat. So I had to break out the really big pot. I don't use this one very often because it's not super great quality, but it'll do for this because we really are just frying up meat and things like that and then getting it all jarred up and into the pressure canner. I've done this taco meat as a recipe before. I'm not going to go into great detail on it, but what you need, as you saw us take it out of the freezer there, 8 pounds of meat. Now, I originally took out 8 pounds of ground, but I did find this 1 pack of venison. I don't know when it was kicking around from, but I figured this is the opportunity. Let's use that sucker up. So 7 pounds of lamb, 1 pound of venison. I pre-soaked my beans last night, so 16 ounces or a pound basically of beans. I went with all black beans. Now you could do mixed beans, really it's up to you. I like the all black beans for this, and we have a lot of black beans as you've seen in some of my pantry videos. 8 cups of corn taco seasoning. I make my own from scratch because it is important that it does not have flour, and I don't trust some of these store-bought ones to not have flour or some sort of thickeners in them. So I use my scratch. To be honest, I use my scratch all the time. I find it tastes so much better. So that's just how we go. And for our liquid, you need 8 cups of liquid. I'm using our home canned tomato juice. You could use canned tomatoes chopped up. You can use whatever you have for liquid. I would just suggest it's something with flavor, whether it was broth or tomato juice or something like that. The tomato is really, really nice in the taco meat. We're gonna plunge ahead here. We're gonna get this meat cooked up, fried up, get those onions in there, put the beans in, sauce, everything, get it to a boil, get it into jars. Really, it's that easy. So you can see here, it's very wobbly. It's got a warped out bottom or whatever from being heated up too quickly, I think. So it wobbles all over the place. It is definitely not my favorite pot. But how often do you need a big 20-liter pot? I mean, really. So meat is in. I'm going to chop up these onions and get them in once this is all fried up. The one thing I didn't mention, which I'm going to mention now, is I cook this all off until it's completely cooked. Then we drain out the grease, the lard, the fat, because we don't want that in our canning. It'll cause problems with our jars lid sealing, and the less amount of fat product you can get in there, the better. So we're going to completely cook this, drain it, put in our onions, get everything else in, and away we go. Well, boy, it's kind of a stormy day out, so it already looks like it's getting dark, and it's not even that late yet, but I feel like I'm behind. I'm actually making the executive decision to add some red peppers into this as well, because we have so many still ripening on the floor. Well, it's on a board, but I figure why not? It'll just be a nice little extra touch here, and I'm already pressure canning it anyway, so it doesn't really matter what I add in here. There you see. We separated that grease, and that is still quite a bit. I mean, that's getting into what, half a cup, a little bit more than half a cup. So definitely glad that that's not in there. Have no fear, it is not going to be wasted because we will separate off that lard layer once it hardens. If it happens during this video, I will take a little clip and splice it here, but we separate that off, and I save that for frying my eggs and stuff in the morning, so nothing gets wasted. So now comes the part where I was saying about the juice. Everything else is in this pot, including some extras like those red peppers. So we're going to put 1 whole quart, whether you were doing chunked or crushed tomatoes or juice or water, if that's what you were going to be doing. I'm not sure if that would be as tasty, but I put the 1 in, stir it up, and then we'll see if we need to add another one. So as you can see in this little clip, there is not very much liquid in here at all. I know that the 8 cups is pretty accurate, but I always do it slow and steady because you just never know. So that was one of our red tomato juices. Now I have a yellow tomato juice. Remember, half at first, and then we will let that simmer and just see how it ends up, because yeah, that's looking pretty darn close to me. Remember, we're not going to be adding any thickener to this, so we don't want it too runny. I do find sometimes I'll take it out and I will put the jar in the frying pan for a bit and just cook it off if it's gotten a little too runny. Sometimes when you get to the end of the pot, you've got more runniness than you do fill. So it just depends on how it works out when you scoop. I'm going to put more in. What I like to see is a little bit of liquid starting to accumulate in those areas where there is a little divot or something like that. That's looking pretty good in my opinion. Oh my goodness, we're having some serious troubles with this today. Well, serious troubles with the beans. So they got tucked behind my broth that I was making, and I forgot all about them. So they are definitely, well, they're still crunchy, so that's good, because otherwise they'd be mush. So we're going to get those strained, get them in there. Then this needs to boil for 10 minutes. It's already boiling away, so good thing those beans weren't in there. Oh, that looks so much better. So as I mentioned, always a starving cat. Or a cat that wants out, one or the other. So as I mentioned, this is a pressure canning video. So we're getting our canner ready here. This is our 3rd liter of water going in. I'm going to start heating that because you don't want to put hot jars into cold water. So we're going to get that going. And the other thing that you should do is you should oil your gasket. Now this just gets you a bit better seal and helps your gasket last just that little bit longer. I just put a little olive oil on my hands and away we go like so. Now I'm going to turn this and I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to talk about something really, really quick here. So before I put my gasket in, while I've got my lid upside down, see this little vent hole here? This is a learning curve that I've had. Other thing you want to always do is make sure that this piece is tight. I take it off every now and then and soak it in vinegar just to avoid hard water film on it. But when you put the gasket in, do you see the little divot in it right there? That, you want to make sure one of those divots is not at this air hole. See, if I accidentally put it here, there's a little vent that the steam can go through and it does not seal well. So I always make sure I'm shifted so that I'm at a solid part on the gasket when I put that in there. Just a little tip. All right, guys, here we are ready to plunge into day 2 of canning. We ended up with 16 jars of that taco meat, which is fantastic, to be honest. One of them didn't seal, as you can see here. We've left the ring on, so we know it's going to go into the fridge for a meal, probably tonight or something like that. The one thing I will say is that lid had been reused a lot, and I have a feeling that this had a little excess grease in this batch, as you can see, and definitely just one didn't seal. That's not too bad in my opinion. We just eat it. It's not wasted. And I will say, as a little caveat, you aren't supposed to reuse your lids, but I've always done it and I will continue to do so because it saves a penny. So let's move on. I brought my chicken broth in. It actually was on the porch last night in order to get cold enough that all that lard and fat is going to come up to the top so we can separate it. So that's first thing on the list. We're going to get it up to a boil and then into its jars and into the pressure canner. This is so simple. I love doing broth because it's a quick 25 minutes in the pressure canner, which is awesome. All right, you can see there we've pretty much gotten most of that kind of fatty layer off. There's still a little bit. I can't get everything, but it is ready to get to temperature. While our chicken broth is getting back up to temperature, it's a big pot. It's going to take a little bit of time. Rather than sitting idle, we're going to work on these tomatoes. Now you can see here, these tomatoes have thawed. Now, that is what I love about freezing tomatoes before I make something that's paste-like or sauce-like, is look at how much water is no longer in these tomatoes, which means we're going to have a really, really nice, thick, gorgeous butter chicken sauce. And that is exactly what I'm going for. For years now, I've done this method. Put them 6 pounds in a bag into the freezer. Make sure you weigh it before because most recipes tell you how much you need of fresh tomatoes, not frozen, right? So weigh them before and then drain what you can out of them. Tip the bag on its side, use the corner and kind of drain any excess, and then into the food mill it goes. Now, this food mill is a Victorio food mill. It's an old one, but this is something that I could not do without, especially for tomatoes, applesauce, things like that. This sucker gets used a lot, and every homestead should have one. I'm just saying, that's how I feel on it. Now, the one thing that is really, really nice about most of the stuff we've chosen to do is it's very, very simple. Butter chicken is basically tomatoes and onions and then a whole lot of spices. So then it just simmers until it's cooked down to the thickness that you want. So that's where we're at. I will bring it back when I've got all these processed. We could not have timed that better with those tomatoes because our broth is just on the verge of a light boil, which is great. I've got my pressure canner here. I just turned it on and this is my 3rd liter of water going in. I just turned on my lids to simmer at the back and I've got all my jars here ready to go. So we're doing 18. We're going to double stack in my pressure canner and get this done and get the next one on. I'm debating, we're going to wait and see what is left in the pot as to whether I do a second round or I just freeze that because I want to make my summer's best vegetable soup. Granted, it will be with all things out of the freezer, but hey, that's a positive. So I might just do the 18 jars that'll fit in my canner and kind of go from there. So you can see there, we've got our double stack, all 18 jars in, and we still have a lot left. Okay, guys. I'm all teary-eyed. I just chopped up those 10 onions in the food processor with the garlic for the butter chicken sauce, and it's making me all cry. You can probably hear the pressure canner is bubbling away. That's our broth. It's actually already had 5 minutes, so we've only got another 15 to go. I ended up with 4 liters left over. which we're going to make that into something in our next video, I'm sure. I haven't figured out what yet, but for now it's going to go into the fridge because there is no room in the freezer. I thought about that after I said it. But I'm not going to go through too much detail on this butter chicken because I have it as its own video in our cooking playlist. And I'm going to just whip in the spices and we're going to get it to a boil, and it's got to simmer for 20 minutes. And then we will put it into jars. This is a water bath canning recipe. So the one thing I will say that's important in this one is I do add lemon juice to every jar just so that I can water bath can it instead of having to pressure can it. So I'm going to get this butter chicken all done and jarred up. Hopefully everything in our pressure canner, all 18 jars sealed, because that is always fantastic. And we'll see how many jars we get of this. It's looking like maybe 5 liters, 5.5. So working it out quick. I'm hoping to get 12 jars, but we'll see. I'm using 500 mils. So anyways, I'll bring it back. All right. Well, our butter chicken is boiling away here. It actually is cooked down quite a bit to be very, very nice consistency. So we're going to get that jarred up. I don't think I'm going to get 12 jars anymore, maybe 10, and into the water bath canner, which is starting to kind of get warm here. Same thing as always, you don't want to put jars into cold water. You would run the risk of splitting or cracking. So let's get it jarred up before this starts cooking down anymore. Haha, I don't know if any of you caught that, but I forgot the lemon juice. Oh my gosh, even after I already just said. So I took it back out of the water bath canner, and we got our lemon juice, and we're going to start putting that into multiple jars before I even get scooping anymore. So I'll bring you back when I got it all out of the canner, and we'll see how many we got. Well, guys, all in all, an extremely productive week of canning, which really, I didn't start the canning until Wednesday, so 2 days of canning. But we ended up with 45 jars, 500 ml ones at least, plus those 4 liters extra of that lamb broth, which we are going to use in our next video, hopefully. Well, we have to, because I got nowhere to put it unless I recan it. So anyways, I'm digressing. We ended up with our 16 jars of taco meat, one that didn't seal, of course, which is right down here at the front, got the ring still on. 10 full jars of our butter chicken, plus a little partial. And then we had our 18 jars of the chicken broth, which is awesome. They all sealed perfectly. They're all going down into storage. I am going to make sure I date these because I have 2025 earlier in the year broth already. So I want to make sure we're rotating stock down there. But we'll get to that in a future video when we talk about restocking up the pantry. So week 1 of the freezer challenge is a wrap. Super pleased. But as you know, tomorrow, I have to pick up 2 more sheep from the butcher and get them into those freezers. So we're going to be rinsing and repeating with all new stuff to try and get some more out of the freezer. So stay tuned as we tackle, until the pantry challenge at least, emptying those freezers.